we frozen?
I don't think so. Ladies and gentlemen, hashtag nation, welcome to hashtag sports. You know how it is, guys. B Lightning says we're running late. We have to get on as soon as possible. But guys, thank you so much for joining us for this day 2 reaction video. Mario, how are you doing tonight? How are you feeling so far about the NFL draft? I feel like the draft board didn't go the Bills' way early on in day 2, but we'll talk about what happened a little bit more later. But how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling really good. I mean, obviously, a lot of people might be upset with some of the picks, maybe the Bills' lack of urgency to get up into the second round. I doubt that there weren't calls made to try to get up to certain places in order to get their guy. But if you look at what the Bills were able to obtain in the second round, getting James Cook at the end, trading back twice to do so, we're going to go over James Cook's profile. We're going to go over the players that were picked from 57 to 62 and say, hey, listen, did the Bills really lose out here with it? And other than that, you know, the Buffalo Bills, a lot of people said they had to go with a running back. They went with a running back. They ended up getting their cornerback yesterday in the first round. Yep. I'm very happy with what they were able to do, what they were able to obtain. They were able to pick up 2 6th-round picks. All of that will be talked about tonight as we do the reaction show, waiting for the Buffalo Bills' 3rd-round pick. Everyone, you got the usual suspects in the chat. We got Rick, B Lightning, Daniel, Jessica, Pamaruto is also here. We're going to talk about the trades. We're going to talk about the Bills. We're going to see how this affects the Buffalo Bills moving forward in the 2022 season and beyond. So, like always, guys, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and make sure that you head over to Mr. Rogers Homes on YouTube. We are doing a jersey giveaway, everybody. Okay, if you screenshot, send it to htagsports@gmail.com that you are officially subscribed to Mr. Rogers Homes. You're going to get a free #sports bracelet as well as be entered in to win a Buffalo Bills jersey. So for those of you that are in the chat, make sure you, like I said, smash that like button. And if you want, you can hit up our Patreon page as well. We have exclusive content for the Patreon members. But Joe, first things first, did the Bills, we talked about it. Excuse me. I need some liquid refreshment here. The Bills trading back twice. Yeah. Is this a sign of some of the things that we talked about prior to the draft and yesterday about he's playing with house money now, with trading back and saying, okay, we got to get this, we got to get this, we got to get this. Because a lot of people want him to take Hall or Walker, both of them gone very, very early in the second. By the time the Buffalo Bills were going to select at 57, 13 wide receivers were taken.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you stay where you are and stretch for the 14th best wide receiver on the board in the second round? Do you take one of the running backs that you think will fit your system the best? We got to remember now, #nation. Buffalo Bills going to a zone blocking scheme with the addition of Aaron Cromer, so it might shift what they're looking for in the draft. So, Joe, I want to get your immediate reaction to the Cook pick and how this may shape the Bills moving forward.
Before I do that, I do want to say Chivas Gold in the comment section asked what is the email again. So why don't you give him that real quick, put it in there. While you put it in there, I'll give you my reaction. And I told you right before we got on the air, I actually like this James Cook pick more than I like the pick of yesterday. I think this is a really good pick for the Buffalo Bills. And we add some draft capital on top of it. Listen, there are some people that are going to say that the Bills reached here. But I find it funny. You know, I remember the Colts GM or whoever it was talking to Mel Kiper about who the hell does Mel Kiper think he is? Do you remember that? I think it was like 93, something like that. Who the hell does he doesn't know as much as my mailman. Yeah. Right? So Walter Football and PFF and whoever you listen to, they might have had this James Cook guy as a 3rd-round value. But that doesn't mean that's what the NFL GMs had him at. That doesn't mean that with the other running back from Georgia getting passed up on due to some injury concerns that James Cook hadn't been moving up some of these boards and those rumors. And we trade back and we get the guy we want. Bills fans all over the place, including us, have been talking about needing an explosive back out of the backfield. Well, here's our guy. Here is our guy, the most explosive back in this draft, the guy with the best hands in this draft at the running back position. Okay, he's not going to be as big of a threat in the red zone just due to size. I understand that. Not the best blocking running back. I understand that, but these are things that can be taught. And when you have a guy like Josh Allen, and you have some running backs already in the backfield who can make the do the job in the red zone, I really like this pick. I looked at the film of this guy. I watched the full game, the Alabama game in the playoffs. I watched every single carry, every single touch, and they weren't all pretty. But what he did against that Alabama defense, which you know how good they are, really, really showed me what this guy could do. Oh yeah, and let's not forget, brother of Dalvin Cook, who's a pretty good running back. So you know that this guy's ritual as far as getting ready is going to be pretty good. 140 touches last year, 11 touchdowns, 0 fumbles. 0 fumbles. Wow. This guy is a playmaker, a game changer. We got 2 extra picks. Got him in the second round. I love this pick very, very much. So that's my excitement. Mario, where's your head at with this pick?
Well, immediately what I seem to go to, I go to the film. I was watching film for a little bit on this guy, and obviously, pedigree's there with being obviously the brother of Dalvin Cook. A lot of people make a big stink about that. Another thing is, that's 4 years at Georgia. Just to give you guys some numbers, he didn't eclipse 100 carries at Georgia until his senior year. He has had 297 plays from scrimmage. So once again, people might say that's a little bit of a stretch because of this kid being so raw, and what this guy has only had talent around him, and he's had a wealth of talent around him. The fact that he's able to come in and he could probably be a game breaker for you with that 4.4 speed, and in the zone blocking scheme, he could find the hole and break off a lot of really big runs for you. We don't know the status, obviously, of Devin Singletary going into a contract year. You have Zach Moss as well. I think this is going to be, it's kind of like flipping it on its side. Now, let me give you guys a little bit of a history lesson. When Bean was down, he was the associate GM or assistant GM down in Carolina. They had, D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart.
Jonathan Stewart, right.
Jonathan Stewart. Okay. 2 very lucrative picks at the running back position. Obviously, it was a while ago. But the point is this, they invested a lot of money in the running back position, and then they weren't able to delegate money elsewhere. So I think this is going to be their thing. You start looking at this offense and how it's to shape out with the zone blocking scheme and everything that's going to go on. You're going to have they're not going to delegate money to a position they don't feel is a high priority position on the field. Running back, you say they're going to invest a ton in wide receiver. They're going to invest a ton in the line. They're already invested in Josh Allen, who people have to remember, as much as sometimes we say it on this show, me in particular, I don't like Allen running all the time. I think you need to take the ball out of his hands. He is a very dangerous threat and something that teams have to account for. He is another one of your runners that could be used in the offensive scheme. So, if you have a guy like Burrow, or you have a guy like Stafford, or you have a guy like Matt Ryan, obviously the running back, pairing Matt Ryan with Jonathan Taylor is something they needed to do because he doesn't run at all. He doesn't move at all. But the need for a high-profile running back like a Hall or a Walker, really, it would take away a little bit of what this offense asks of what Cook is going to have to do in his first year. Obviously, McDermott likes having his guys earn their stripes, earn their playing time on task, the process, and all that stuff. So that all being considered, Cook is one of those guys who he's already been surrounded by a wealth of talent. Well, he comes into the Bills, who they have a wealth of talent around them. He's going to be asked to do a very specific role, maybe be a third down spell guy for a little bit before he earns his stripes. And then by the end of the season, the Buffalo Bills are going to have to make a determination whether or not they're going to extend Devin Singletary, or they're going to say, hey, listen, we got Cook and Moss going into next season. Moss will be in his contract year. Do we go to it for another running back in the third? Do we pick up a guy off of waivers? What do we do? So I like the pick for the position and the player because he does not have a ton of carries under his belt. He's a kid that's going to come in and learn. And like you said, Joe, 11 touchdowns and 140 scrimmage plays.
Yeah,
that is. I mean, even though he was surrounded by all that talent, that is amazing. Coming out of college and getting great value right at the end of the second round.
Yeah. So Anthony Robb comes in here and asks, do we think that Duke Johnson will be a Yeldon and Breida inactive a lot? I actually don't see. I don't see Duke Johnson like this draft pick. To me, indicates that Duke Johnson will not be on the roster next season. That's my prediction. I think that he's definitely on the outside looking in at this point, and we'll have to do something in camp to prove otherwise. But yeah, that's my opinion. I don't know, Mark, if you have anything to add to that.
The Buffalo Bills had done a very similar thing a couple years ago when they did draft Devin Singletary. Remember, they took Yeldon maybe like a week or a couple days right before the draft, and that was just kind of an insurance policy if they weren't able to get their guy. Once again, they took Cook. Cook is a heck of a – I mean, I really like Cook. I mean, I like Johnson. I really like Cook, but I really like Johnson. I like him, his versatility, what he can do out of the backfield. I think he's there in giving Cook time to develop – learn the offense, do what he needs to do. Bean loves those insurance policies. And maybe, if it comes to that, he may be a guy, we may be seeing the offensive version of guys, calm down now. We might see the offensive version of AJ Epineza, where he is brought along slowly as a second round pick that comes along. And once he's finally able to get it, you're going to see more and more playing time out of him and less out of Johnson. But initially, I think going in, you have your three-headed monster with Singletary, Moss, and you're going to have Johnson that are going to kind of carry the load while this kid's trying to get his feet wet. And then eventually he's going to end up emerging in a very big role, because we've seen it over the past 2 years, Joe. When the Buffalo Bills start to institute different things into their offense mid to late season, you start to see a breakthrough in what they're able to do and how they're able to be very, very dynamic. So I foresee him starting the year, maybe not finishing the year. Maybe he'll just be
Sure. Yeah, and to me, this pick also indicates the Cook pick. And the Bills are on the clock right now, and I will give you guys that pick as soon as it comes up. But to me, this indicates this is kind of a change. Now, listen, the offense is going to run through Josh Allen, right? No doubt about it. It's going to be a pass-first offense. But Ken Dorsey is kind of beginning to say, well, this is now my offense, right? And we're going to do things a little bit differently, picking up this James Cook out of Georgia, a different type of back than what we've been used to seeing over the past couple of years. I think this says that this offense might look a little different, and it might start off a little slow, just getting you acclimated to the new offensive coordinator.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he was down there when I believe he was down there when they took McCaffrey, and you started to see a dynamic receiving running back. But they also saw what happens when you put too much of a load on a running back that's that size and that stature, and you try to make everything go through that running back. And the fact that you have Josh Allen on this team, not everything's going to have to go through the run. They don't have to do everything. Everything's going to be delegated to Josh Allen, what he needs to do. But you start to look at, Joe, I just want to, before the Buffalo Bills pick, and they're probably going to pick very, very soon, obviously.
Yeah, their pick's in. So
their pick is in. But I just want to go. I just want to just remind everybody, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. The Buffalo Bills had traded back from 57 twice down to 63 and took running back James Cook from Georgia. We are shortly after we talk about the pick that the Buffalo Bills, because the pick is in for their third round pick, we are going to cover the players that were drafted from 57 to 62. We're going to cover those guys and say, listen, did the Buffalo Bills really lose out here trading back that many times? We have to remember one of those trades was with Tampa Bay. The other was with Cincinnati. One non-conference, one conference team in the second round. So, how I love a lot of people like to focus on, if you trade back with a certain team, who does that player get? It all started with Patrick Mahomes when they traded back in 2017. They ended up getting Tre'Davious White. And everyone was like, oh, my God, they lost on Mahomes. They lost on Mahomes. Well, you know what? Yes. I'm going to say it again because I love saying it, Joe. You got Josh Allen and the resources to get Tremaine Edmonds, and you picked up Trey White in that draft. So you got Trey White, Tremaine Edmonds, and Josh Allen for Patrick Mahomes. I think the Buffalo Bills fans are content with that.
Absolutely. With that trade. All right, so the Bills pick just announced. It's an interesting pick. I like it, but it's an interesting pick to me. Terrell Bernard, linebacker out of Baylor, 6'1", 224. Again, we talked about McDermott and his insurance policies. This is a third-round pick, so I don't think this says anything about Tremaine Edmonds immediately, but this definitely is an insurance policy for the Buffalo Bills, looking at Terrell Bernard. And you figure we just got rid of A.J. Klein. I know we just added a pretty good defensive talent in Von Miller. But again, I think this one here is definitely an insurance policy pick, and I like it a lot.
Okay, like you said, 6'1", 224, did not run the 40
Yeah.
the combine, put up 22 on the bench, 35.5 in the vert, 12.3 broad. Impressive numbers, but you start to look at it from a size standpoint. He's 6'1", 224. This is more the Milano type than it is a Edmonds type. So it's obviously not going to be a immediate pickup for this isn't like, oh, they're replacing Tremaine Edmonds. Don't say that. He was originally projected to go in the 5th. So the Buffalo Bills probably see something, and maybe this is something, or Joe, that we talked about. In order to try to give yourself some cap room this year, you extended Milano, and you put voidable years in his deal. I'm going to look up his deal real quick on overthecap.com. You guys know that we love using Over the Cap. So just give me 1 second there.
JH comes in and says loves Kyle Brandt. I forgot that Kyle Brandt was making this pick. Kyle Brandt, a huge believer in Bills Mafia. And he's fun. He's always fun to listen to. I think that he gets riled up, and it's a lot of fun. So I'll have to go back and rewatch that pick actually, just to see how he did.
Okay, so what happened is that Matt Milano, as you remember, the Buffalo Bills had to free up some space. So what they did was they extended Matt Milano. You have Matt Milano for the 2022 season, 2023, and 2024. He has voidable years at 31 and 32 in 2025 and 2026. You guys know this deal, right? You guys know when they built in voidable years to a contract, what they're trying to do is they're trying to prorate the bonus and reduce their salary cap. When you build in a void, it is very unlikely that you are going to re-sign said player that you extend and give the voided years to. So this, he's built more of a Milano than he is an Edmonds. So if that's the case, you essentially really only have 3 more years with Matt Milano, and you have 4 years with this kid on a rookie deal. So that being said, which makes me laugh because he's slated as a linebacker, but 6'1", 2.25. That was Cam Chancellor a few years ago.
Right. You know what I mean? Right. So,
that being said, the guy's pretty quick, really fast. Let me just read some of the strengths for the hashtag Nation. You guys some. His first strength out of the box. Scouts rave about his leadership and character. Yeah, that's not a Bean guy. Doesn't sound like him. Never quit at attitude despite adversity. We all remember when Milano got hurt, how hard he rehabbed to try to get back onto the field. Film junkie who rang up 100+ tackles in 2019 and 2021. Rapid read and response against play action. Okay, it's like putting Poyer down in the box. You know what I mean? So on a continuous quest to get after the football, loose and fluid pursuit. Okay, now let's read about some of the concerns for this guy. Slender frame might be maxed out. So his 224 might be staying at 224, 225. Gets caught up too easily in the clutter. We know all about that, being Buffalo Bills fans, seeing that. Engulfed by size if he's not proactive. So his head has kept him out of a lot of situations. And I'm sorry, I'm explaining what these mean, guys. His head has kept him out of a lot of situations. Struggles to fit and hold a gap. Knocked off balance by redirect blocks. Loses pursuit coverage, allowing back to cross his face. Angles to runner leave a little margin for error as a tackler. Average coverage recognition. Has had foot, shoulder, and knee injuries at Baylor. Once again, though, maybe for the defensive side of the ball, as much as you're going to ask Cook to do in 2022, you're not going to ask Bernard to do a heck of a lot from the linebacker position in 2022. So,
yeah, I mean, we also saw how long it took Milano to get on the field, and Milano was. I mean, I know that you and Paul were yelling for Milano like week 4. And he still didn't get on the field till like week 8. So
Ramon Humber played ahead of Milano, ladies and gentlemen. Ramon bleeping Humber. But I like it for the depth purposes. I know you would say it was third round depth, but it's 89th pick. His profile comes out as he's a leader and a guy who is going to do everything you ask him to do. And that is what the Buffalo Bills culture has been, presented over the last 5 years in McDermott's reign and shortly in Bean's reign. So
I mean, you're talking about a guy who 103 total tackles last year. It went from 6.5 sacks in 2020 up to 3.5 sacks in 2020 to 7.5 sacks, 12.5 tackles for a loss. Injuries plagued this guy throughout his Baylor career. But yeah, you talk about the leadership aspect. All this guy needs to be is a wrestler on the side. He's a perfect fit for McBean. So yeah, I think this is typical Bean fit. And I like the addition of depth at linebacker. And like you said, after our first pick, the cornerback wasn't all house money at that point, where we could just add this depth and say, who do we have on our board where? Obviously, Bean didn't like the board in the second round. And again, as you touched on, we traded twice, got 2 extra 6th-round picks. We do have a $2 super chat, so let's get to that real quick from Jessica. Thank you, Jessica, very much for the super chat. Do we think he is there when we face 2 tight end sets? Talking about the linebacker Terrell Bernard. Mario, what do you think?
I would say I'm just glossing over some of his statistics right now. He did have a few injuries junior year, but he came back his senior year with a vengeance. I would say day one, no. Right. But then again, guys, I don't want you guys to get misled of what I'm saying about what I'm saying today. Initially, on paper, right now, looking at the kid, he fits more of a Milano mold. That's all I'm going to say. The Buffalo Bills like staggering those contracts. If you're not going to have Milano in 4 years, this kid will be in the 4th year of his deal. Then you'll realize if you want to sign him or not. Okay, so this is one of those kids they're allowing to develop. Day one, no, he's not going to be on the field. He's not going to be covering 2 tight end sets. However, in the future, if he's able to learn from Milano, get in that linebacker room, work as his draft profile has stated, he could be a guy that does come on the field and he is used in those 2 tight end sets. Now you have to remember, Buffalo Bills, you have Teron Johnson who's going to be playing the slot. He's not really going to play those tight ends. You have Tre'Davious White is one of those guys who is physical enough to play tight ends, and he has played tight ends. We got to remember during the first matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs, he was matched up on Kelsey more than he was on Hill. Yep. You got Elam to take care of those speedy guys now. So what you can do now is you could free up Poyer and Hyde now, put Milano and White when he comes back on those tight end sets. Maybe initially you're just putting Poyer and Milano on those tight ends and then waiting for this kid to develop. But as far as a day one, I don't think he does, but who knows? Maybe by week 8, week 9, this kid has been able to pick up the defensive teams enough, and he's able to do some work out there.
Yeah, I think that come week 1, this is the Terrell Bernard along with possibly James Cook. They're the scratches, right? They're on the inactive list coming into the game, kind of like we saw with like you said with Epineza a lot. We saw that with Rousseau a few times this past season.
Basham too.
And Basham too, right? So I expect to see him inactive because we all know how much Coach McDermott wants you to earn your playing time. I mean, we talked about Milano earlier in the stream, and so that's something that will have to be earned. And I think so early on we'll see Terrell Bernard inactive, and that's okay because again we don't need him right away. We did get a chat asking us who is available at the inside offensive line, so I am looking that up a while, Mario, as well. So I didn't know if you wanted to. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to go. I don't want to worry any of the Buffalo Bills faithful out there. Okay, what was it? Pimarudo? He said, "Am I the only one who thinks that this has been a weird draft for the Buffalo Bills?" I said it on the stream yesterday. They're really, it's a weird position for the Buffalo Bills because they picked 30th last year. They picked 25th this year. For so many years, we have conditioned ourselves as Bills fans to sit there and go, what quarterback? Who's going to be the franchise guy? Who's going to be? And then after that, we didn't care.
Right.
The Buffalo Bills stuff. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? So, okay, that all being said, we're coming into this with a little bit more comfort. I think that's the weird feeling you're getting is that you have a lot more comfort knowing that you have a GM that could draft well. You got a coach that can develop players, and you have a quarterback now that probably 27 other teams would want. Yeah. So coming into the draft, it's a little bit different view and perspective for Buffalo Bills fans. That's my own personal thought. Now, that being said, I just looked up the Buffalo Bills draft history. Okay. Now I don't want to worry anybody, but in 2017, in the 5th round, the Buffalo Bills took Matt Milano. Okay. We have to remember that was Doug Whaley's scouting staff that did all the legwork prior to that draft.
Right.
Trey White may have been McDermott's guy, but everything else for the depth of that was done by Doug Whaley's staff, and then he was taken off the board. Okay. Since then, since that linebacker was drafted, Edmonds was drafted the following year. No brainer, right? Physical specimen, athlete, can get all over the field. He's your second first-round pick, which you traded up for. Since then, you have taken a bunch of free agent linebackers, a bunch of guys that nobody wanted. The only guy that you've drafted since Tremaine in 2018 was Voshan Joseph. How did that work out?
Yeah.
So the track record of the ability to draft linebackers is one. You got one. You got Edmonds. And people still aren't sold on him. So that being said, I want to hold off. Although I'm happy about the Bernard pick, I want to hold off some of my excitement about this kid before. I mean, he could be the tipping point in this draft to be like, listen, if he doesn't pan out and he doesn't do a few things here and there, can Bean and McDermott draft linebackers?
Right.
What's going on here?
And you have to think that with the assistant GM and Ryan Dable leaving to the Giants, didn't some of the scouting team go with them too?
They did.
So,
but you gotta remember though, Joe, and I know you know this. I'm just doing this for the explanation. That stuff's done all year. Like
correct.
Next year's draft profiles have already started to be written.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So that's what. So that's a scouting department suspect on this pick. Chewy, no, I'm not, immediately going crazy about it, but I like I know why the Bills took Bernard. I know why they took him. Okay, they had to get some depth in that linebacker room. Obviously, they're going to be playing a lot more nickel as their base. So obviously, with a nickel, you only have two linebackers on the field. Most of the time, barring injury, it's going to be Milano and Edmonds flying all over the field. You do need that depth signing. A majority of the time over the past few years, when healthy, those guys play 100% of the snaps in games. So this is once again another developmental project, maybe like Cook. So, but you talk about it. The Buffalo Bills needed a corner coming into this draft, number one. So they got the corner in the first round. And then they end up using their second and third round picks on positions they don't like spending money on. Linebackers and running backs, they don't like spending money on those. Milano's was a very, very cheap deal for him to stay in Buffalo. It was it was 4 years, 44. Yeah, but then they had to restructure it. So I don't know. But
and to answer the question from earlier, Kennard is the best offensive guard left.
Yes.
But he'll be gone before. I mean, unless the Bills use some of the draft capital they now have to trade back into the third round, he'll be gone by the Bills next. Because again, the Bills now don't have a pick currently until the fifth round. So
that is true. They gave up their fourth. So
they gave up their fourth. So we don't have a pick until 168. But you have to, and Mario, if you have other ideas, let me know. You have to assume that Bean is trying to use his 4 6th-round picks now to move into the fourth round. Like I don't think we could use 4 6th-round picks.
I am looking up the draft NFL trade value chart. The one that was made famous by Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson.
So if the Buffalo Bills, let's say they want to get into the fourth round, that value of that pick, the last pick in the fourth round, I think it belongs to Tennessee at 143 is 34.5.
Okay.
The 6th round picks, they start at roughly 18 and they go down to 1.
Sure.
So of the 6th round, they'd have to bundle 3 to get into the 4th.
Yeah. Or you bundle your 5th and your 6th, right? You bundle 168 and 185. Right.
You could try to do that. That would be very, very difficult for them to do that. But I mean, it's possible. I don't see a team taking 3 6th-round picks unless they're Atlanta. And they need bodies in camp, like they do with a very, very small salary cap. So I'm not sure what the Bills might do. They may hang on to those for future reference because, Bean has been able to work wonders with certain trades, not a lot, but certain trades where he'll trade a guy in a 6th for another guy, or a 4th rounder in 2024 or 2023 or something. He'll do something for for that. Maybe next year's fourth. Chewy Walker
Right.
even comes in the chat. He said maybe next year's fourth.
Right.
But he is acquiring capital in as far as drafts go, and that's good. If they hang on to all three of them picks, I don't know. Are they just holding on to them for like a rainy day, for Saturday, and be like, do we have any developmental guys that we think can make the practice squad at this point?
Right.
But as far as the
because you do also have to remember, what was it, 2 years ago, because of COVID, they expanded the practice squad teams too. So
yeah, that was the thing I wanted to ask. This thing I wanted to ask Paul yesterday when we were talking about it. I was not sure if the Buffalo if that's still a thing. I don't know if they're going to keep the rosters like that with everything going on. Oh, Chewy said the quarterback went to the Panthers. Oh boy.
Yeah, the Panthers traded up and got a quarterback. So again, I mean, and I'm surprised that more quarterbacks didn't go earlier on in the day. But yeah, the Panthers just traded up to get a quarterback.
Yeah, well, and the wait for Malik Willis also was is over. He went to the Titans at 86. So Nakobe Dean has a lot of Buffalo Bills, as we talked about it here on the podcast, went 83rd to Georgia. But aside from that, scrolling through and looking at a lot of these names and a lot of the positions, I didn't see a lot of need for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, do they do a double tight end? Do they draft two tight ends again, like they did with Sweeney and Knox, with two of their 6th round picks, or 5th round and a 6th round? I don't know.
Well, I would say that would be if we would go get another cornerback. JH asks, do you see us get another cornerback in this draft as well?
They could. I mean, you got to remember, they took Dane Jackson in the 7th.
Right.
And that 7th round pick was the pick that they got from Minnesota for the Stephon Diggs trade.
Right.
So you got to Calvin Austin. Ooh. Keenum for a 7th. That's right.
Calvin Austin. Last I saw, Austin's still on the board. Listen, and Mario, I've been talking this guy up. Shakir is still on the board from Boise State. Like him a lot for our slot guy. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of picks to be had out of Buffalo Bills. And I think both the guys I just mentioned would be gone by the 5th round. So something would have to happen, I think. But you never know. I mean, people drop all the time, especially around these later rounds. You see GMs taking these guys like the Bernard, who was originally a 5th round grade, and just going with that. But we're going to see what happens. So, Mario, I know you wanted to talk about picks 57 to 62. Again, if you're just joining us, or if you're watching it on replay tomorrow, we're just recapping the Buffalo Bills day 2. The Buffalo Bills traded twice on day 2. Going back from 57 to 60, and that trade, they also got the 180th pick from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I believe it was. And then the second trade, it went from 60 to 63. They got the 63rd pick and 209. Mario, you're going to have to refresh my memory on who that was with.
That was with Cincinnati. Okay, so the Buffalo Bills, originally, their 2nd round pick was 57. They traded back 3 spots to go to 60, and then they traded three spots back once again with Cincinnati. In those picks, from 57 to 62, there were 6 picks. And I apologize if I butcher some of these names for y'all. So, a guard was taken, Luke Godecki. If I butcher his name, I do apologize. Luke, I'm sorry if you tune in. I don't think you are. You're probably celebrating. From Central Michigan. Now, I think this guy, were the Buffalo Bills going to go interior offensive line? I don't think so, due to what happened over in the offseason, number one. Number two, the guard play coming into this draft was kind of abysmal. There were
Paul talked about a lot, right?
Yeah, there were literally 2 guys you could have taken that could have been starters, so to speak. So that being said, this is their replacement for Ali Marpet retiring in the offseason. So there's a guy that they take from a smaller school. He's able to, one of those plug and play guys that they'll try to get. Atlanta Falcons with the 58th pick take Troy Anderson, linebacker, Montana State. We talked about this on the draft episode. This guy is a freak of nature. If they took him, the buzz that would have created in Buffalo about Tremaine Edmonds' future would have been the topic moving forward. I know that would have been the topic moving forward, because this guy is an athletic freak, and he's going to do well down there in Atlanta if they don't mess him up. Once again, so 59th, the Vikings took Ed Ingram from LSU, another guard, from the SEC. Okay, so 2 guards and a linebacker got taken when you traded back the first time. So the Buffalo Bills trade back 2 guards and a linebacker go off the board. They're like, wasn't really the linebacker we wanted, and we weren't really looking at interior line help. Plus, you look at it, it was 3 NFC teams that were going to draft.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, we'll go back there. We don't care.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go back. And then Cincinnati comes calling. They're like, okay, we'd like to have your pick. And you're like, well, Cincinnati really doesn't have a lot of the needs that we have. Think about it too. Joe Mixon's there.
Yeah.
You know that, okay, if the Buffalo Bills were in fact targeting Cook and they wanted to get some more resources, they're sitting there going, they have Mixon. They're not going to take another running back. Okay, let's say. So they trade back again. Cam Taylor-Britt from Nebraska, another corner, which Buffalo Bills already have their corner. They may take another one. We don't know. Linebacker Drake Jackson is probably the only guy on this entire mix of 6 that they may have targeted or they may have wanted.
Yep.
So he was from USC, and at 62, the Kansas City Chiefs took a safety, Brian Cook from Cincinnati. Kind of wondering why Kobe Bryant is not up there. I know he was mocked like a 5th or a 6th. He happens to be a really good player. But if you look at the positions, 2 guards, 2 linebackers, a corner, and a safety. From a positional standpoint, you could say the Bills could have drafted a safety. They could have went with one of those 2 linebackers. They weren't really a scheme fit. I don't know. But then you knew that none of those teams with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, with Hasty, with Mixon, with Cook, with Cordell Patterson, with Leonard Fournette, they're not going to take a running back. So the Buffalo Bills are like, our guy is still there, and we don't think anyone's going to try to skip to try to get this guy. We have our guy. Let's try to pick up 2 picks. They pick up 2 6th-rounders, essentially 2 6th-rounders, and James Cook for the 57th overall pick. I'm not mad about it. I think that if you go through those guys, because another thing too that we talked about, Joe.
Yeah.
13 wideouts had already been selected. You're not taking the 14th best wide receiver at the end of the 2nd round. I'm sorry, you're just not going to do that.
So. Okay. So we did have a question in chat. Do we think Bernard could take Matakovic's place or someone else's place on special teams? It did talk about Bernard having some special teams at Baylor. But again, I don't see that. I don't see that being a role for Bernard. Now, I do like what I hear when you talk about his leadership capabilities and his willingness to do all things, which means if that's what the Bills ask him to do, he'd do it. But I don't see that for Bernard in this spot. I think, we just re-signed Teron Jones, who's a special teams guy. I don't know if Matakovic is going anywhere this offseason, but maybe he is. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I don't see Bernard as a special teams replacement, at least not right away. Mario, you there? Did you freeze on me? Oh, no. Mario froze. Hey, good night. Everyone's saying good night. I don't know what happened, but I'm still here. Guys. So, hey, good night, Chivas. Night, Chewy. Great job. Thank you so much. Having a great time here talking about the Bills picks. There we go. Mario is back. So let me get him back in the stream here, guys.
Did we get booted?
I don't know.
I think we got booted, dude.
Oh, man. I don't know. It says we're still live. Like the time's still going.
Well, we're still live. Mario froze. We're here. Chewy, good night, brother.
Yep. Apex is saying, "Sup, Joe?" Hey, Apex, Mike, good to see you in the chat. Mario, I'm trying to get you back on the stream, man. Where are you going? You're hidden. There you go. There we are. We're back. We're back.
Right, I was about to say, I popped out, hopped back in. No, but it was interesting. You were talking about only Mario. Apex, what are you doing? Get in here.
Get in here, man. Let me share with him the invite and see if he wants to join us.
Yeah, absolutely. Get in here. Mario had issues last year. Jessica, I always have issues. You know this. This is not anything.
Well,
it's
nothing
new.
More than just Mario's issues. It's a long list.
I did alphabetical, really. If you want. But I think I want to scroll up and try to get to that. Jessica actually said Damari Mathis.
Mm-hmm.
Let me refresh my page. Everything froze on my side, guys. Sorry. When you have 27 tabs open, that's really
yeah. You're like, let me do research on this guy. Then you're like, I'm 10 years old, right? I can't do this stuff anymore, guys. I'm saying it like that way. Apex.
She goes, Damari Mathis in the 5th. Ran a sub 4.4, 5'11", a buck 96. Not too many things on him. Obviously, he's projected as a round 3, and he hasn't been off the board yet.
Right.
So, I mean, if they've looked there and they took Dane Jackson in the 7th, he's the type of guy who, I mean, which means that they have history with Pittsburgh of looking at players in Pittsburgh. So that's one of those things that they could do. Just looking at the kid and seeing he's got an elongated stride. He's got more track speed than I think on field speed, which is probably why he's fallen where he's fallen. But if he's a guy that, Bean and McDermott would go over to Dane Jackson and be like, hey, what did you think of this kid? He'd probably be one of those guys, redshirt senior. He can come right in. He can probably do a few things. Right. What did we reach? I know McFadden is still available. You know what? You got to remember the guys. When players are getting passed on, essentially what teams are trying to do, and this is from my history of watching the draft, studying the draft, doing a bunch of things. They want to have the best player available that fits their system. Right. Sometimes the best player available does not fit their system. I mean, you know what? If you look back at the draft, maybe at 2019, 2020, 2021, and you're looking at it, you're saying, well, technically the best player available on the board was a quarterback. Mm-hmm. The Bills weren't taking that guy because they already had Allen. So it also has to go within a scheme fit. I think Bernard fits the scheme, and he has the right attitude for the Buffalo Bills right now. So maybe that's where the Buffalo Bills are leaning, and that's why they drafted Bernard ahead of anybody else. So,
well, we have another guy in here. Right? Not much, buddy. Good to see you. What are your initial thoughts? We'll start with Terrell Bernard. What are your thoughts on the Bernard pick at linebacker?
I was a little confused. I was just listening to Mario, and Mario probably has a better handle on it. I'm just having a hard time figuring out how we're going to see Pat the playing time. Now, don't get me wrong. I went and looked on this when it was first happened, and Matt Milano, because he kind of fits more Milano's role than he does Edmonds.
Which Mario talked about. Yep.
If we have a post 6-1 cut next year for Milano, we save $10 million. Now, do we really want to see Milano go? No, we don't. He's our best linebacker. We don't want to see him go anywhere. Sure. But I'm trying to figure out, where do we see? I mean, when you usually think of your top 3 picks, those are your core guys, right? The first 3 rounds. Those are guys that you're supposed to have a plan for how you're going to bring them into playing time. I understood with Elam, he has skills. He's great cover corner. He needs to work on the tackling a little bit. Great, that's fine. Needs to learn zone concepts. Great, he has the skill sets. James Cook, he's a pass catching back. He can do some of the wide zone stuff and gap that we want. He's not a power back, but that's not what we're going to run anyways. Understood that. I struggle with Bernard. Like, where do we see him fitting in? So now he has to beat out Boson or Dodson. He has to beat out Smith and all of our others. Mark Lee. He has to beat out all these guys that we already have. I just think they obviously have a plan for him, but when you saw like Calvin Austin III still on the board, you saw Dylan Parham still on the board, Kobe Bryant still on the board, Tyreek Woolen still on the board. Like, I get that we just went corner, but those guys have much higher traits and much higher ceilings that I figured we would hit. So, hey, and Bean I trust, so he's smarter than me.
I firmly believe that there's going to be some athletic freaks that we don't even know about that Bean takes in the 5th and the 6th that are 100% developmental projects at center and tight end. I would not be shocked at all if he took a center or a tight end with those picks. And listen,
I had the same issue last year when we took Spencer Brown in the 3rd round. I knew nothing about the guy. He was just this freak. I'm like, where the hell are we going to play him? We just re-signed Daryl Williams. They found they had a plan. So who the hell? I don't know crap. I'm just some random fan that talks on YouTube.
You're much more than that to us. Just say, that's all you are. No.
What's weird too is that you mentioned Daryl Williams. It's funny. The Buffalo Bills cut him forever ago.
Yeah.
He's still a free agent.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was the right tackle going in and out, and right guard. And this guy, I think you're seeing all these guards fly off the board in the NFL draft, and they're probably saying, well, he'll cost too much. You know, he's going to cost too much. And I think after this draft goes and you start to see maybe some of the performances and the mini camps and stuff of some of these guards, you may see Daryl Williams end up on a team at guard somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if he
Buffalo
ended up
Bills.
at guard with it. Hey,
You might see him come back to the Buffalo
Come
Bills.
on back.
You know,
well, all right, let me put this, and I'll put it to the chat and you guys. Would you rather the Buffalo Bills draft a guard or re-sign Williams on a 1 year, like $3 million deal, $4 million deal?
Draft a guard. I'd much rather draft a guard. I want that
For a
cost
4 year
controlled.
deal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would much rather have the cost controlled player and a long term. We have a lot of 1 and 2 year deals because that's how Bean plays his hand. He's always shuffling the deck. Outside of Ryan Bates, who we just signed to a 4 year deal, our entire O line is basically on a 2 year deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
And Bean likes, and that's part of what Mikey was saying. I agree with. Bean likes to try to keep it that way. All these 2-3 year deals, like that's what he likes to do. So, which would I rather? I don't know. But I think that knowing Bean how he likes to do things, it makes more sense to go after one in the draft. JH comes in and says Jalen Weidermeyer in the late round. If we're talking late athletic freak tight ends. I think we did a little bit of talking about him when we did our mocks last Friday.
Not a fan of Weidmeyer. He's gonna fall more in the UDFA range, unless they love his traits. I'm a big Bellinger fan. I love Daniel Bellinger. He's more of a 4th and 5th round tight end. Also, more of a 5th and 6th round tight end, Charlie Kohler. If we're looking at tight end, love those guys. The problem with drafting a tight end though is what do you do with them in 2022?
Right.
You can't spend a premium pick. It have to be a late pick on those, and then those are developmental guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who was the? I know, Joe, you may have mentioned it, and I was just I was looking at the cornerback that Jessica put in the chat. Who was the tight end that was the absolute freak that we talked about? We actually put in the mock draft.
Bellinger.
We drafted him the same year.
You loved him, Daniel Bellinger.
Yeah. Oh.
You loved him. He's like 6'6", has crazy stats, athletic freak. Can he's an all around tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
you
God!
You can line him up anywhere.
He's an absolute freaking monster.
Yep.
Oh God, gimme all day.
Yeah,
4'6'3". It's 6'5", 250.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Tyreek Woolen, who Jessica's talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's 6'4", 209, and runs a 4.2.
Yeah.
4.26, 42 vert.
Yeah, he's a former wide receiver. He's played 2 years of corner in college.
Yeah, he's an NFL comparison was Kevin King, and if you guys were the Patreon members, if you checked it out, we did a cornerback free agent, pickup, and we were talking about possibly, Kevin King coming to the Bills because obviously we thought the Buffalo Bills were going to go and sign a free agent corner because that's what they did for so many years. They signed a free agent corner that could fill that CB2 role across from Tre'Davious White for a little while they got everything that they needed. But if this guy is he's projected 2nd to 3rd round, he hasn't been drafted yet. He is a guy that is completely raw. This guy screams 5th through 7th round pick because he's completely raw. I mean, he has the speed, the athletic ability. The fact that he's 6'4" and runs like that is – why didn't anyone try to keep him at wideout? I mean, come on right now. The Raiders would have definitely drafted him.
Right? I don't know. They moved him to corner. His coach came to him and asked him to move to corner. I think because he played for a smaller school. He played for UTEP, I think. They needed corners, and they felt his skill set would meet it, and they felt he would be unique to the position.
Yeah, he's from Texas, San Antonio. That's where he's from. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is great.
He has poor hands. Actually, he has really good hands.
Yeah.
Does he block?
Bellinger does block, just so you know. He's probably the most well-rounded. Him and Cade Otto out of Washington are my 2 favorite tight ends in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, not for nothing. I don't mean to derail the show, but if a girl says that a guy has poor hands, I'm going to take her word for it.
Okay.
So we got We got Bellinger. Who we got? We got get so for Hashtag Nation to look up prior to tomorrow. We got Bellinger. We got Wolin. We got Mathis. Who else do we got on this board that we may look at? Winfrey. Winfrey was the other guy.
The fastest 40. So
he did.
Yeah.
Heavy metal. We love him too. Kyle Brandt is the Bills Mafia inductee. I'll tell you right now.
Like,
absolutely.
I would hate to be Terrell Bernard having to live up to that. That's man. Like I was expecting to hear, oh God, the punt god. If he would have come out and said Ariza, at the end of that would have been legendary. But I mean, if he said like Terrell Austin, or Calvin Austin the third, just that little gadget guy. I'm like, oh God, yeah. He said he's a Terrell Bernard. I'm like, who? I had to go look him up. Like I had better linebackers. Channing Tindall was still on the board. Like there was a million linebackers I had, over this guy.
All right, so we want to try to give you guys, obviously, with some of the fun that we have here and announcing the picks and talking about the Buffalo Bills and how this shapes the Buffalo Bills as well. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button as well. Picks 99 through 105. I'm sorry, 97 through 105. These are where we start to get into the compensatory picks. This is why when you guys trading up from the fourth to the third kind of is a little bit more daunting for some teams, because you got to remember all those compensatory picks will be in there. Now, just keep in mind, a lot of the players that the Buffalo Bills had signed on 1-year deals, or the guys that they signed on 2-year where this is their contract year, if they leave the Buffalo Bills, they don't get cut. If they leave when their contract expires and they sign big deals somewhere else, the Buffalo Bills don't match those deals. We got to figure they're not really going to match those deals coming up. The Buffalo Bills will then be awarded compensatory picks in the following year, which means for 2024 they will be awarded compensatory third-round picks. So we just want to keep that in mind. And all the picks that are coming off the board from 97 to 105, they're not only compensatory picks, but they're picks for, I think it was, I don't want to get it wrong, but I think it's the Troy Vincent rule, where if you sign a minority coach, your team gets 2 third-round picks. And I think that's the deal that's going on.
Minority coach or GM.
Minority coach or GM. Okay, so that is what's going on. Because if you guys are saying, wait, you know what, the draft should be over, the third round should be over, there are compensatory picks going through. I know a lot of you know that. I just it's the teacher in me that has to talk about it. So I just wanted to get that.
I do it.
Listen, children. This is what's really going on.
Why do we still have picks, Teach? Wow. You lose a lot of players.
Go through the formula for us real quick.
Hey, teacher, tell me, how does it work?
Yeah, go through that formula because no one knows how that works.
I will tell you. Signing Von Miller to a 6-year, $120 million deal takes us out of any picks.
It did. I have over the cap. Where did I put over the cap? Where did I put it? I have it here somewhere. I'll go look at it.
Yeah, in one of his 20 tabs that makes his computer freeze, he has over the cap somewhere.
I don't close that. You just see my school computer, man. It's got tabs for days. If I have to reset that thing, I start crying. So if we're going to draft. Compensatory pick.
Sorry, our lesson plan got canceled. So we're watching a movie today.
I'll give you an example. Now, obviously, Feliciano doesn't compute because he was cut. Williams doesn't compute because he was cut. Yep. So the CFAs that were lost by the Buffalo Bills were Mitchell Trubisky, Harrison Phillips, and Levi Wallace. The contracts that they signed would have netted 6th-round picks. So the Buffalo Bills would have gotten a compensatory 6th-round pick at the end of the 6th round. Because they gained 5, which were Daquan Jones, a 6th, Von Miller's contract only netted a 5th.
Wow.
Tim Settle, O.J. Howard, and Jamison Crowder. So Tim Settle, Howard, and Crowder netted 7th-round picks. So you're basically getting a controllable 4-year deal at the end of the 7th round.
Wasn't Crowder cut?
I was just saying, I thought so.
I thought Crowder was cut.
I don't. It's over the cap has it listed. Okay. If he was cut, then they messed up.
You know if you look at they know that crap better than I do. So
okay, so then now if you look at the New England Patriots, who are on here, as far as this chart is going, they didn't pick up any CFAs. They lost J.C. Jackson and Ted Karras, which netted them a 3rd and a 6th. So at the end of the 3rd and the end of the 6th, they will get a pick. So that's next year. that's going to be on next year's draft. So 2023, they already have 2 extra picks built in. So that is how that works. And it's funny too, because as I was looking this up, do you know because the the Los Angeles Rams lost Miller to a huge deal. So that would have netted them. Do you know what deal canceled that out for them? That they didn't get a compensatory pick?
Wasn't it their linebacker, Bobby Wagner?
No. Allen Robinson.
No, Wagner was cut.
Yeah, Allen Robinson.
Who?
Allen Robinson canceled out Von Miller's deal.
Oh, my God, you're right. Because Bobby Wagner was cut.
Yeah. It was hilarious.
Allen freaking Robinson. So tell me, in what universe trading Robert Woods to sign Allen Robinson is a smart move?
Is it age?
I believe Robinson's older than Bobby Woods. And that's right. I call him Bobby Trees.
Bobby Trees.
Bobby Trees.
Woods just tore his ACL though, right?
Yeah, he's coming off of an ACL tear. Who then? Yeah. The lovely Titans decide to trade their best receiver in A.J. Brown and pick up Treylon Burks, who doesn't know how to run a route.
I know. So just to go back on the previous point, Allen Robinson has proven in the NFL he's a solid 2. He's a great 2. Yeah. He's not gonna make a lot of noise. He's gonna be a solid 2 for you and contribute and do what you need to do. He's 28. Robert Woods, and he actually tried to be a number 1, Allen Robinson. It didn't work out. Robert Woods, coming off at ACL at 30, you think that there's a part of Bobby Trees that he's like, I could have did what Cooper Kupp did. I could have did what Kupp did. Yeah, so I don't know what the atmosphere was or the locker room was with him. I'm not sure, but they got a wide receiver that was 2 years younger who is a solid depth piece.
He does not block or do the things that Bobby Trees does.
Right.
No, he doesn't.
I wanted the Bills to go get him back. Give me Bobby Trees all day long. That dude is a man child. I was mad when we let him go.
But then again, if you only get a guy who can run a few routes and block, you're essentially getting N'Keal Harry. I mean, do you really want that?
Well, I mean, remember what Robert Woods did to us, 2 years ago. He single-handedly brought the Rams back in that game with reverses and catching the rack yards right after catch. Yeah. He is a monster when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And he did that with Goff. He didn't even do that with Stafford.
Right.
He's coming off an ACL. A lot of people are coming off ACLs. You can't play.
The Niners are on the clock, and that would be the last pick for day 2 of the NFL draft. So,
and Mario's frozen again.
Is he? Well,
or he's being really still.
He's being really still. He's practicing his stealth. Yeah. So anyway, and we didn't really get your thoughts on James Cook. So,
I love the pick.
I do too.
I would have preferred him in round 3. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I love the player though. He is ideal. He's a perfect match for what our offense is. He is a wide zone receiving back. He's not a power guy, but go ahead. You were gonna say something?
And I just want your opinion because I brought this up tomorrow earlier. Doesn't this say something about Ken Dorsey kind of taking over this offense a little bit? We're not used to seeing this type of guy being drafted by the Buffalo Bills. We didn't get this type of running back under Brian Daboll. In fact, us as fans were yelling for this type of running back the past 2, 3, 4 years, and we just never got our guy. I see this pick and I say, this might be Ken Dorsey saying, hey, let me get something out of this draft to put my stamp on this offense that I want to run.
Yeah, and I don't think it's just Ken Dorsey. I also think it's Shula and our new quarterback coach because he was the OC for that LSU team. Dorsey is smart enough and is confident enough that he's going to those guys and say, okay, let's build this thing out. Let's put our heads together because that's just the type of guy he is. He's always wanted to be in that seat. And the way the Bills brought in all these different guys who have already been in that seat to help him was smart.
Right.
Because you see it. You see it right away. You heard Elon talk about it today. It's a family. You don't think the coaches are the same way? They come to the door, they sit down. Dorsey's sitting at the head of the table saying, "Listen, guys, let's build this offense. We need to take it to the next step. How do we do that?" Yeah. Then you brought in Shula, and you brought in what is his name? The former Panthers offense coordinator that's now our quarterback coach. What's his name?
Brady.
Joe Brady.
Yep.
We got Brady, and then we brought up the other quarterbacks. The assistant quarterbacks coach is now the quarterbacks coach, or the sixth quarterback coach is now an offense assistant or something like that. But we have all these, and then we have Cromer. We brought in Cromer, who's going to be our run game coordinator. And says, okay, how do we put all this together? Let's throw this into a bag and work. I don't know how Daboll ran it, and I don't care because it's in the past and he helped us get where we are today. But I'm ready to see the next version of us. And adding a James Cook, who is electric when the ball is whether he's running it, whether he's catching it, you can line him up in the slot as a receiver if you want. He has the ability to do a lot of what Kamara does.
Yeah, no, I was talking to Paul and in the chat here, or Mario and in the chat here, and I watched the film against Alabama in the playoff game, and there were times in that game he made Alabama's defense just look slow, look slow, and to do that against a Nick Saban defense, it's impressive. So I actually told
right?
I actually told Mario
that to Belichick's defense.
Yeah. I actually told Mario and I told chat, I was more excited about the James Cook pick than I was our first round pick. I love this pick for where we got. Again,
blasphemy.
Again, we also got two sixths in the process. So, we could tell that Brandon Bean wasn't thrilled with the board at the time.
Early 7, 6 and 7. But at the end of the day, Mario, this goes back to what we talked about on Friday Night Lights when you asked us. If we take that cornerback in the first round, how you feel? Are you going to, is the rest of it all just gravy to you? And to me, it was. So I went into today just sitting back okay, we got the corner we needed. For 2022, we were set. There was no holes anymore. So anything we drafted today was all for future. Then we picked Cook. I'm oh, shit, Cook can help us this year. Excuse me, language.
Cook can help you. Bernard can do some things for you, but when you talk about recent Buffalo Bills history, the second and third round picks had to start day one. Those guys have to start.
Right.
This team is built in such a way now that they don't need to immediately start drafting a second and third rounder that doesn't immediately need to start. Now, Elam does. I'm not saying that guy, the clock is running on him. He needs to start because of the injury to Tre'Davious White. I understand it. And just to kind of go over, Jessica said, "Who's your internet provider?" Just curious.
They used to say it's AOL for me.
Joe, I told Joe this earlier. Paul called my house, and I have AOL. So somebody answered the phone. Long board in the kitchen. Everyone has. Sorry, I apologize. But that being said, you're talking about drafting a second and third round pick that are okay, listen, he can contribute. You're talking about drafting a third down back in the second round. That's not because they've been able to assemble this team and built this team to the point that, okay, listen, everything is a toy to you at this point of the draft.
Yep.
We took care of everything we needed during our free agency. If they didn't have free agency, people are like, okay, they need a dynamic edge rusher across from Rousseau. Free agency, we got it. They need to fill out that middle line if they're going to get rid of Starr. Phillips, Jones,
Settle.
Settle. They're like, okay, we took care of that. We don't need to draft that. We don't need to draft that. They were taking positions off of the board prior to the draft. So at the draft, they're like, okay, all right, let's go. What do you want to do? And they can use some help at running back, a little bit more explosiveness. Sounds good. Which worries me because they had Breida last year who has the breakaway speed, but maybe he just didn't get it. I'm just saying, maybe he just didn't get it.
Daboll's offense.
Listen.
Yeah.
That Shanahan offense just turns and burns running backs. They all bust out for 1,000 yards. They figure him out. He gets a new one that has a little bit different wrinkle, and he uses them there. That's been doing that for years. But I like what you're saying there, Mario, because not only that, but this week we signed Quesenberry, the tackle.
Yep.
Right.
We didn't even know we needed a tackle. We all said we wanted more.
Just
tackles.
chilling.
He's better than Doyle at the moment. So guess what? We have a backup tackle. Guess what? That means Bobby Hart can go bye-bye.
Oh
and
my
then I'll
God.
cry a little bit inside.
Don't start. Don't.
I'll cry a little bit inside.
I don't want to. I don't want to rip your
Paul
heart
will
out
play
twice.
Paul will play me my song, and then I'll be okay.
You play that song that the Sarah McLachlan one for the pets.
Yeah.
What is it?
Right.
Yeah. He's such a dick. I make one comment about don't be surprised if Bobby Hart makes the roster and I become the Bobby Hart fan club.
Hey, listen.
And he makes a meme for me.
Yeah,
I just want to refer real quick at pick 104. Logan Bruss, offensive guard from Wisconsin, was just taken by the Rams. JH put in the chat. Rams went guard at 104. Too bad New England took the guy they wanted.
Oh, that's gold. That is
the quote. I'm putting that up on the stream. Like, I gotta put that up there. That's brilliant.
That Sean McVay had, like, you could tell he was 3 sheets to the wind. He's about 6 drinks in.
Oh, he was loaded.
He was laughing so hard. Like, that was like a belly joy laugh. Like, I can't believe he just did that. And then he comes back in the second round and takes Tyquan Thornton, who was a 5th round receiver.
You got to think, though, where the guys go. I mean, we talk about this, where the guys go and where they could flourish. Any receiver that got drafted, you got to think about it. I'll go back a little bit, and you guys can agree or disagree with this. Any receiver that went to the Indianapolis Colts when Peyton was in his prime, if they could get it, they played a lot and they flourished. I didn't hear anything about Austin Collie. I know he got killed on one play, but I didn't hear anything about Austin Collie after Peyton Manning was done. Right. You know what I mean? You didn't really hear anything about those guys after Manning was done. I think Wayne was the only guy because he lasted longer, and he ended up making Luck a star. So that all being considered, if you're going to be a wide receiver for the Los Angeles Rams, you're going to get some targets and you're going to get a chance to flourish. You know?
Yeah,
but Jessica, you stop.
Taquan went to the Patriots. That's what I was talking about. Like, he went to, like, they took the fastest guy in the draft and gave him Mac Jones.
He went to the Pats. My bad.
Yeah, he went to the Pats. Like, I get that, but he went to the Pats. Like, they reached for a 4th round guard, then they turned around and reached for a 5th round receiver who's developmental. Like, does he have speed? Yes. But we watched what happened when Jones tried to throw the deep ball and he underthrew it and Hyde picked him off. You think having a faster guy is going to make that better? He underthrew the other guy.
I'll tell you what, I saw Greg Thompson from Cover One. He actually did a wonderful breakdown of why arm strength matters. And he did Josh Allen's throw in that same game versus
I saw that.
It was versus Mac Jones' throw in that game, and the trajectory of the ball and the speed and the release and all that stuff. He said, this is why having a strong arm is, sometimes beneficiary. And he was just basically very simple, very basic breakdown. I talked to him, and he said people lost their minds about that. Like, oh my God, you're talking about Mac Jones. What about Mac Jones' rookie year versus Josh Allen's and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, guys,
different teams. Different situations.
There's a reason why on Monday Night Football, the second time we played the Patriots, they only threw the ball 3 times. They're like, Josh Allen was still slinging that ball. He threw a 50-yard bomb to Stephon Diggs that hit Diggs in the arm. Like, that Diggs should have. Yeah, Diggs should have been able to catch. Like, in 50-mile-per-hour gust winds. Like, that's insane.
He was cutting the ball 2 guys in 50-mile-an-hour winds. And if he throws the post to Beasley instead of the backside post to Davis, we win that game.
We win that game. So
crazy, right?
It is.
Yeah.
So
it is.
All right, guys. Listen, I gotta go. I got a long day tomorrow, but we gave you a quick recap of day 2 of the NFL draft. I actually have a special treat that Paul and Mario Mike did not know about to end this stream, and it's not Buffalo Bills related.
You better not be playing Bobby Hart. I will murder you.
I will not be playing. Okay. No, it's nothing to be scared about. I promise. It's actually RJ's last call as a Sabre. The Sabres win in overtime today. Middlestead gets the goal. RJ, we love you. I love you. I don't know what they do to you, but Thank you guys for joining us on #4. Make sure you hit that like button if you didn't already. The Sabres win it in overtime. The Bills killing it on day 2. For Mike, for Mario, I'm Joe. We'll talk to y'all soon until we do. Go Bills.
Go Bills. Good job.